authentic to myself. Now, if it means, because I can't, help it if somebody takes offense, and like I shared, we don't know what will offend somebody else. That you should continue to do, please.
That's great, ma'am. The next question from the audience is, how did you come up with the idea of story arms for your book Untold Lies?
Okay. I've always been someone which I got to know much later, that I've always created new pathways. Whatever I've done in my past, and at 50, I can look back and say I have created new ideas. I've always taken the risk. I've never been, I've always been open to new things, let's say. So when I thought of writing a book, my idea was that to do something which is quite different. And my storyums is basically collection of stories and poems. So what I have done is I wrote the story. There are only 9 stories, short stories, and each story then segues into a poem, series of poems. So they're all interconnected. So by the time you've read the story, read the poem, so a chapter of my life is moving into the second chapter. So they're all interconnected. So the idea was to write the truth. Like I said, it's called The Untold Lies, my book. And the idea was to create something where I kept the readers intrigued. So my first story and the last story are connected. So when the first story starts, it leaves the readers thinking, oh, what happened? What is the truth? In the end, I reveal the truth, and that is my story. And in between, there are poetry, there's poems that actually shares the experiences of that little girl's journey.
That is so thoughtful, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next question is, what is your saturation point for expressing after so many incidents of being cancelled culturally has happened? How have you coped up with them?
The best way to cope with things is by, I call it bubble wrapping. You can't see the bubble wrap, but you always have to wear a kavach, as we say in India. It's like a little security around you. I think over time, as human beings, we each have a threshold. We each know what is the limit that we have. For me, because I've lived a life in the LGBTQ community, as you know, the last few years, I have had to experience a lot of abuse, not just uh, within the people that I don't know, but strangers, even friends have been abusive at times. So I've bubble wrapped myself. I don't let anything touch me to a point where I will, it will be over for me. I have been there. I have been in dark places. I have taken on the negativity of other people's, issues, but I don't do it anymore. I have learned to bubble wrap, and I would advise, if anybody watching this has similar experiences, just find an invisible bubble wrap, because we are all very sensitive. We are sensitive humans. Things hurt us. Things we are sensitive to what other people think about us, how they express themselves, and people are sadly not always kind. The only way you can deal with this is by looking after yourself. Create tools, find ways of securing your own self.
Well, that's a great advice. I'm sure our viewers will take this advice. Looking at the paucity of time, we will have the last question. You have such a global and diverse mindset. Did you ever come across a situation when you had or liked an unconventional idea but feared it might be perceived negatively? And how did you go about it?
Okay. Now, I think there are many, many ideas I can talk about. Like you said, there's paucity of time. Means, yes, of course, I have lived an unconventional life. So that's the most, I am a living example of someone who lives life completely on my terms. Whether I, sadly had to separate from my husband, I have twins who are now 24 years old. And I have brought up the twins along with my same-sex partner that's living unconventionally. We lived in India, we lived in New Zealand as a family, we live in the UK now, in London as a family. So there are many things that I have said, done, lived, which is very unconventional. I say things, like I said, can offend people because I come from a place of my heart. I have created ideas and opportunities for myself and others which are very unconventional. I just go with it. If you're a change maker, you're a path breaker, you are responsible for carrying a torch for the rest of the world, you're the voice, then you just live your truth. You just follow that path. And I deal with it on a day-to-day basis in the best way I can. I don't let things get to me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to thank you on behalf of TedxIIMRohtak for such a riveting and moving talk. Ma'am, you are an inspiration to all of us. It was an honor to have you here with us today.
Thank you very much, and lots of love to all of you, and all the best, and thank you. And I really enjoyed listening to the director's monologue. That was very good. And I wish all the other speakers all the best, and to I am Rohtak as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will be starting in a minute. Good evening. Joining us for the live Q&A session, we have Mr. Manish Bhatia, an entrepreneur and investor. He is a proponent of sustainability and integrated culture of environmental, social, and governance. Welcome to the live Q&A session, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pal.
We will begin with the questions now. The first question is, what inspired you to dedicate your life to fostering sustainability?
So first of all, I'll tell you very simple reasons. My children are very conscious of the environment, and even as a little children, they used to remind us not to throw waste into the street, or what used to be a typical habit. And the change started from there. And when we saw the sort of data on sand mining in India, I've been a part of that sort of ecosystem where I get to see that kind of a data. And when you see all the waste that is lying around in the city, you certainly want to do something about it. So that actually the need of it, the need of the hour, the shortage of sand, and the availability of waste into the city. So whenever, for example, if somebody is recycling, they are getting some sort of subsidies and incentives that allows them to recycle more. Number two, there are penalties imposed if you're not recycling, and if you are using the land for landfilling, then there are penalties. So there is a reward, there is a penalty system, which has been implemented by all major cities. So finally, I would say that I would think that by in next 5 to 10 years time, you can see these recycling activities even happening in smaller cities. But at this moment, cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, Pune, Surat, Mumbai, Thane, etc., they've all taken steps to make sure all the waste that they collect gets recycled. So that is one. And the second part is that what is missing at the moment, what can we do more? Possibly we can have more scientists coming in and testing the product, and so that more applications can be developed. Even institutes like yourself can come and include that in the syllabus, so that the students, when they come out, they think about recycling more, and that's where the change will come. And as I given my example in my talk about UK, that 29% of all construction in UK happens from recycled materials. So definitely it's a feasible thing, and it's not more expensive. It is commercially also benefit at the moment.
That's great to hear, sir. The next question is, there is a lot of lip service about sustainable means of living, even though their concerns and intentions are in the right place. So the question is, what are the things that keep potential social entrepreneurs from succeeding in fulfilling their potential?
Look, I mean, I'm saying I'm not an expert on the social front. Probably I need to do more in that respect. But some of the things that has inspired me and which everybody can do. For example, I saw a school in Assam which collects plastic as a fee for the school. Instead of taking cash for the school fees, they take plastics from the students. Now, how innovative is that, right? So why can't this happen around the country? People can have small schools where in a village where 20-30 students are there, and they're collecting, and corporates are supporting them. So I would say charity begins at home. I would try and do as much as possible from our foundation here, the foundation of which I am part of. We are trying to plant as many trees as possible. We are collecting as much as waste in the country as possible to recycle it. But I think it's little more than the lip service. We have to be positive about it.
How do you think the government rules and regulations come into the picture when we talk about sustainability?
Definitely, and I would say today the the whole program about net zero, becoming net zero in our carbon emissions, is a great movement, and I'm happy that even our country has taken a step in committing a number. Right, 2070 looks quite far away, but yet we are going to take steps towards that direction. So yeah, I mean, companies, private entrepreneurs needs to adopt this into their companies. People need to think, if even a smallest entrepreneur, if he tries to uh, make their footprints green, it is going to make a difference. So yeah, definitely government policy would drive it, but it will still need more of education and awareness at a local level.
So the next question is, according to you, to what extent money plays a role into bringing such eco-friendly measures in your business operations?
So fortunately, there is no dearth of money in um, supporting technologies that are eco-friendly or sustainable. So there is a lot of foreign investment, especially from green funds, is coming into India. So companies, investors who are willing to put money into long-term visions of waste recycling are plenty. So I mean, today, if any entrepreneur wants to set up recycling facilities, for example in construction and demolition waste, they will get readily funded by uh, the private equity players in the business. So it's a proven business model, and there are private equity players coming into this space already. So I don't think so
The next
money is a problem. Of course, execution is a problem at the moment. That you still have a payback period of 5 to 10 years, and you have to be patient. These contracts are typically 20 years, so you need to find patient people who are willing to wait that and work with you for 20 years in order to get the return of investments. But I'm saying there's no dearth of money. If somebody wanted to do that, there are plenty of sources for funding.
That is very encouraging to hear, sir. Looking at the paucity of time, we will be having the last question from our audience. The last question is, where exactly government must focus and invest to achieve Green India part from recycling C&D material?
So I think our biggest problem would be currently is tracking the waste. So we need to define this in a better way, that if somebody is constructing anything, he has to become liable to report what did he do with the waste. So at the moment, why the recycling rates are so low? Because we are not able to collect it. So I would say increase the incentives. Maybe you have some new ideas, or proven ideas like accelerated depreciation, like you've done for the solar industry. We can have initiatives like this, tax breaks like these, and of course enforce it at a local level to collect the waste. If we're collecting it, then we will be able to find a way to recycle it.
Now, seeing that we are at the end of our Q&A, I would like to thank you on behalf of TedxIIMRohtak team for gracing our event and sharing such an inspiring and intriguing topic.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pal, and I wish your team all the best.
The first question is, you went on a sabbatical for a year wherein you traveled 3 countries, became an open water scuba diver, looked after your health and so much more. Has this experience changed your priorities, values, or thought process in any way?
A great question, actually. Yeah, no, I think values are, the same. They're sort of very core and integral to a person, right? So I don't think values change. Yeah. But when you speak about priorities and thought processes, yeah, and I think that's a really interesting sort of space, right? Because I think all of us constantly juggle with multiple priorities. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's work and there's family and there's maybe exercise, there's social circle, there's, there's stuff that you want to do for society. I mean, it's just all, they're all there, right? And we're almost consistently trying to calibrate what's more important for me now. Yeah. And I think my larger point was, when I spoke about the hurdle race, career track, and you're a young student, you're just starting out, and I'm sure you've been through that entire, grind yourself, right? And I'm reasonably sure that your parents would have sat you down and said, "Yeah, no, this is the most, important point of time in your life," and again and again, and somewhere I think what's really integral to you really goes away, right? Yeah, because something takes precedence. Yeah, so for me, my sabbatical was a bit of a read, if I were to call it that, right? Because you just in it and you're doing, and then it's really important to sort of pause and say, yeah, what's the point of it, right? So it's fundamentally a calibration of of priorities. Yeah. The thought processes, I think it's a great time to sit back and reflect. Yeah. And really sort of more important, you're more considerate of, when you see people and you understand where they're coming from. And, and you, since you've been in that space, you step back and say that there cannot be any judgment on what an individual's priorities may be. Right. So it is just a transition, of pre-post calibration of priorities, but no change in value systems. I think those are far deeper than what a year's reset could be. Yeah.
That's true. The next question is, when one returns from a sabbatical, how to cope when one finds themselves in a situation where everyone has moved on or the way of doing things have changed?
I went for a year and not a decade, right? So, I mean, yeah, sure, things change, but not so much. I think when we're younger, right? And I think somebody gave me incredible advice, and he said that listen, your career is like a marathon. Okay, it's not 100-meter sprint, and I think a lot of us treat it like a 100-meter sprint. I mean, think about it, right? You guys do case studies, and there's this really competitive spirit that how could they do a case presentation better than ours, or ours was better, how could they come first, right? I mean, the same thing sort of translates, right? As you, sorry, in somebody got promoted 6 months earlier, somebody got a better job, or became a chief or a leadership role before you, and it's all relative, right? So I think it's important to know that you made a choice and how that choice worked out for you, and along with that choice comes the fact that that maybe somebody got a promotion that you would have got, but then it's your choice, right? But also understand that what you did has made you stronger to go that extra mile sometime later. So it's fine in the long term.
The next question is, what is your opinion on millennials in their late 20s and early 30s taking a sabbatical?
There's no right time. You do it when you want and when you feel like it. And, I mean, I just think that we just need to move further from, this entire societal bias that exists, that if you took a sabbatical, then maybe something was wrong. There need not be anything wrong. You did it because you felt like it, or your priorities at that point of time told you to do it, right? And that's what happened with me. So it doesn't matter whether you're in your 20s or in your 60s, you want to take time off from working, go ahead and do it. And it's fine.
So everyone in their 20s and 30s are relieved to hear this now.
Yeah, I mean, take it. It's, if you honestly feel like it. I mean, I don't go unplanned. I mean, that's my advice, right? And that's what I learned. I think most important thing is to really understand what you want to get out of that time off. Because it's very easy to just say, okay, I don't like it, I'll take time off. No, that's not the point. The point is that, okay, you're taking time off, and how do you know that that time off has been good? Yeah. And has been beneficial to you. Otherwise, sometime later you'll regret it. And that's when, your first question when you said somebody goes ahead, that's what starts to sort of pinch you, right? So you need to be very clear about your priorities and why you want to do it. And if you have that sorted, go ahead and do it. The world will wait.
That's great. The next question is, did you make any changes in your routine or lifestyle when you resumed your work after the sabbatical?
Yeah, actually, I just think that, I invested a year, and I know that what I did to sort of make it reset, right? And you say, I don't want to lose that. It's not easy. It's tough, right? Uh, I mean, I said to myself that I will go scuba diving every 6 months, right? So, because I love it, I love that entire space that comes out of it. Yeah. The COVID, it's a bummer. So picked up some other hobby. I did one comedy course randomly, right? Just for fun. Never went on stage, but I did the course. Right? So exercise is a part of my routine, and there are days when I don't feel like doing it, but then you sort of force yourself. So I think some of those things came in, right? And I think most importantly, it was very important for me to spend time with my family, which was one of my must-do KRAs that I outlined in my talk, right? Saying that I need to do that. And I make sure that everything else is, compromisable. This is not. So that's something that, I force myself to, to go ahead and do it. So yeah, a few of, the changes that sort of, that I've made.
One last question. After all the options you had, what made you choose to become a certified scuba diver?
So it was not the first time I had, okay. I'd done an assisted dive a long time back. And it was fun, but it was very scary, So for me, it was a bit of saying that, okay, conquer my fears. Yeah. And I found, the world underwater strangely sort of liberating. And I'll tell you a funny anecdote, right? So I did my sort of in-house, in the pool kind of training. And then when I was going for my first dive, the sea was really choppy. Okay. And it was very like tossing, and I was like, and when I went into the sea and I had not even gone in, I put in, the air tank, the BCD regulator in my mouth, and I kept breathing, okay, because it was so choppy. And I came out after 5 minutes and I was so scared. And all this time I was thinking that what a stupid thing. Yeah, really been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Still live? Can I exit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.
Bye-bye. with us Mr. Tahir, an author, political activist, and advocate of freedom of speech. Welcome to the Q&A session, sir.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We will be beginning with the line of questions. The first question from our audience is, sir, you have written a novel wherein you are exploring the conundrums related to multiculturalism. Was there a eureka moment while writing the novel which was least expected by you at that time?
You know, actually, living a multicultural society in Canada itself is a unique experience. And based on that, I was exposed to many complex ideas, for instance. For instance, here in our part of the world, in Canada precisely, we, the immigrants communities, look forward for multiculturalism. But when it comes to dealing with each other, from my Punjabi Sikh community, he fell in love with a girl from Pakistani Punjabi community, and she was a Muslim, and he was a Sikh, and both girl and boy, they were working in multicultural department. They were saying that we need to tolerate each other, we need to work with each other. But when their parents discovered that they have decided to marry with each other, their parents opposed, and all communities leaders, they opposed each other. And they said, no, how is it possible to marry a Punjabi girl, Punjabi Pakistani Muslim girl, the Punjabi Indian Sikh girl? So I was shocked that the both communities were advocating for multiculturalism, but not only their parents opposed that idea of getting married to each other, also both communities opposed it. So I thought, then why do we advocate for multiculturalism since we cannot practice it? And even those families, they were working for multicultural department of Canada. So that triggered me to put a couple of chapters in my novel. And I said, this is ironic and shocking that both, families were advocating for multiculturalism, but when it came to implement that idea within their own circles, they failed. So that was the kind of one of those, unique ideas and unique experiences I went through that triggered me to write a novel.
The next question is, how to bring change in the attitudes of people who do not support multiculturalism?
Very interesting and very important question. Multiculturalism is not a one-way traffic. Some communities say, okay, you just hear our ideas and you just give us right to celebrate our culture, but we will not celebrate your culture. Because at the moment, I'm living in Canada for the past 23 years, and I visit India almost every year. India is a great multicultural society for thousands and thousands years. So in India, the core values of multiculturalism are way stronger than any part of the world, I must say. But here in Canada, we are talking about multiculturalism for the past, I would say, 40 years almost. Our governments, here in Canada, advise us, suggest us to share culture with each other. But the problem is, some community, they say, okay, you take our experience, but we are not ready to take your experience. You celebrate our culture. We are not ready to celebrate your. Multiculturalism for me is a bouquet. It's not a one-way traffic. It's an all-way traffic. You give your cultural flavors to other communities, but you also take flavors of other communities. So the communities that fail to absorb other cultures is the biggest hindrance in celebrating multicultural mosaic in any society.
Well, that's a learning that we all can take away from this answer, sir. The next question is, the practice of identity politics has created a culture of us and them. How to combat this challenge?
This identity politics is on one hand, the proponents of identity politics on one hand say, oh, this identity politics is a part of multiculturalism. But the critics of uh, this identity politics, they say no. This actually shuns multiculturalism. So philosophically, we need to come up with new thoughts about multiculturalism, because at the moment we are stuck with political ideas of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism itself has become a manifesto of identity politics. Recently, we are observing this reality in India for the past, I must say, 30, 40 years. And now it is here in Canada. It is in the United States. It is everywhere. So identity politics does not support true spirit of multiculturalism. Identity politics, in fact, harms true spirit of multiculturalism.
That's true, sir. The next question is, what all measures an organization has to take to avoid cultural differences among its employees?
In my humble opinion, every institute, every organization, every workplace must have certain core values, which should be universal rather than multicultural. Like, for instance, treating each other with respect is not a multicultural thing, it's a universal human requirement. So any organization or any business or any, even government departments, if they apply those common sense, universal rules, different communities in that department or in that business would start respecting each other's cultures anyway. But the thing is, when one certain community, any certain community, is accepted by others, and any certain community does not respect others, things can't work. As I said in the beginning, in one of the earlier questions, it is a all-way traffic. It's not a one-way traffic. So we cannot expect respect from others until unless we don't respect others. So this is a common sense principle. It applies in terms of respecting each other's cultures in any given organization or in any department or in any workplace. So it's a all-way traffic. This is very important for me to understand so far, that while living multiculturalism or experiencing multiculturalism, we have to be respectful to others before we wanted to be respected by others.
Now, seeing that we are at the end of our Q&A, I would like to thank to you formally on behalf of TEDxIIMRohtak for gracing our event and sharing such a thought-provoking talk on multiculturalism.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure and feeling so blessed that my first TEDx is with all of you. I'm super excited and nervous to be here.
We will be beginning with the line of questioning soon.
Looking forward.
So we have the a talented artist, bibliophile, Instagram influencer. We will now be commencing with the questions. The first question is, many people start their weight loss journey from different reasons, like they hated the way they looked or they want to prove someone wrong. So one might lose weight, but how do you think it would impact a person's mental health in that case?
See, I feel that if your reason to shed those weight is because you don't like yourself or to prove somebody something, then the reasoning is only different. It has to be because you suddenly see an outfit which you think would have looked super chic if you were an excess size or whatever. Anything when you do it for yourself, you have the motivation. It could be for whatever reasons, but if you're doing it to prove someone wrong, is itself a wrong beginning for it. So I think one should always get motivated by oneself, not by somebody else, or to prove something to somebody.
That's so correct. The next question is, what motivated you to start your live show, Chitta Chatter? You have such amazing viewership on your Instagram live show. How do you discover these amazing books with such intriguing and interesting content?
If I say how I started my chitter chatter, so I think it was a divine intervention because we all were suffering from the pandemic and we all were locked in the doors. And I love chatting. Like, I love meeting new people. And that's the time when Instagram Live had just started. And I started with two of my friends who wanted to go live with somebody else. But as a trial, they started it with me that, let's do it, and that's how it began. And today it's been almost 2 years where consistently I've been in chitter chatter, where I've interviewed authors, doctors, um, writers, directors, like every field professionals, and I meet so many people and learn so much from them. So that is how chitter chatter began and is continuing, and that's one of my favorite times when I meet new people. And then, there's so many viewers who have so many more questions, and there's so much learning and fun. Where books are concerned, I think books choose me because, when the authors approach me and the publications approach me. So I think that story chooses me to read it. And I would say I don't, the moment the curtains open, I'm Ashu for that 2 hours on that stage. And whatever I'm doing is what I assume Ashu would be doing.
The next question is, you have painted walls all around India. How do you draw ideas and get inspired? Is it from what's happening currently, or you have a pre-decided theme for a particular zone, or is it arbitrary?
So usually, since it's commissioned art, so it goes as per what the client wants. What is the theme of that particular cafe? Like when we did Synthful, they wanted to create a mini synth in that restaurant because it's like Sindhi food and all of it. So we had this little village made on the wall, and we had these Sindhi lingos on the plate. When I did Farmer's Cafe, they wanted to have all the grass and a jute painting with a carriage and everything that depicted the farm. When I painted Wings at My Froyo Land, which is a yogurt bar, their theme was very simple that, we want a wall where people come and click selfie with their yogurt. And that's when I decided, who doesn't like pair of wings? Like, I love wings. I think butterflies and wings are something that everyone enjoys. And it would be a perfect selfie thing. So it all depends on what the client is looking out for. So they give me a theme, and then I start pondering on that theme and, the sensibilities with the interior designer. And that's how the art form is created.
The next question is, there are so many people all around the world who want to lose weight, but there is something that is stopping them to do so. According to you, what is it? Is it cheat diets?
Cheat diets. I think cheating is bad, be it in any form, be it while exams or be it in diet. I think, what? Diet, in our digital world, the fast, where you have to actually stop eating, where you suddenly want to do things, which is wrong. Like people tend to be like, oh, you're going to a dietitian, do one thing, share your diet with me. But it's not like that. It is like, the nutritionist is actually planning something as per your body style, your lifestyle. What, like tomorrow, food is the best comfort, and we'll end up overeating. We don't realize at that time, because see, you can binge eat once but not regularly. So when I got on my way of getting into a weight loss, like I'm a thyroid things, and all those things at the end of the day help you. And automatically, see, if you're not looking for comfort in food, you're not going to overeat. You are going to, if you're not going to hurt your knee, so you will have the energy to like work. And if you are carrying